Welcome back to the channel. This is Roberto Full Curl Precision again. Oh, it was a long day. Anyway, uh, yeah, we're doing a 25 caliber blowout. Um, we have kind of some interesting comparisons tonight. We have the 250 Savage, the 25 Creedmoor, 257 Roberts, 25-06, 25 WSSM, and the 25 Weatherby RPM. Now, here's the thing. Right now, there's not a ton of data as far as reloading and so on and so forth with the 25 RPM. So I'm using what I can find. So bear with me. Same thing with a lot of these. There's not, I'm finding some better information. I was able to picked up on the Friday, so yesterday, I was able to pick up a new Hodgdon reloading manual, and it had 25 Creedmoor in there. So yeah, it was kind of nice being able to find some stuff. So it's gonna make it fun. I'm trying to keep everything within reasonable range and everything else too. And there's gonna be some different numbers, so don't get too offended by whatever it is. I'm just reading the information that I'm able to find. As a side note, tomorrow I'm hoping to be able to take a ride over to the gunsmith to just check out the rifle. He's not quite done with it. I'm going to have him do some pillar bedding in the stock that I picked up. But I want to be able to at least go check it out. And then hopefully within the next couple weeks, it'll be ready for then. But it's mostly ready. It's just not completely ready. I'll just had a chance to talk with him a little bit. So I'm going to plan on doing that. And if I'm not able to get that way, I was looking at it, and I have some other things I do. I'm borrowing a friend's 243, and I was going to do like a little comparison of like hydrostatic reaction between what I consider to be a minimum for elk, which is a 270, and then smaller cartridges, and why you should have some foresight as to how a gun or bullet acts when you're hunting. Yeah, so that's what I was going to do, and do like a different size water jugs, including up to a 5-gallon water jugs. That's going to happen either way at some point, but if I don't have the daylight, it's going to be more focused on just getting over to the gunsmith, I think, just to be able to go check out the rifle, shoot a couple rounds through it, let it fire for him, and be able to have some brass to start working on stuff. That's my hope. So anyway, let's get to it. Let me turn this camera around. So, as I like to be able to make everything as fair as possible, most of these are having a 24-inch barrel. They all have a 200-yard zero. Most of these are based upon 24-inch barrel, except for the RPM. Actually, their data is, from what I'm seeing, is based upon 22-inch barrel. And the reason is because they're building it around their 307 Alpine. So it's supposed to be for lighter weight application. And that's what I'm seeing. Now, I know if we were to try to, there's different loaders and different reloading manuals and things like that, but I wanted to give a little bit of a comparison between old school and new school and see where things have changed and advanced and how certain things can really make a difference. And so here we go. We're going to start with the old school here. We're going to go down the list. And most of these, by the way, are short action. There's only two that are not, and that's the 25-06 and the 250 Weatherby 25 Weatherby RPM. The rest are short actions. So here we go in old school. One of the first 25 calibers to really make a big splash. You have the 250 Savage. And I went through several powders, and it doesn't have a very high max pressure. That's what that is. MP now is max pressure. 52,939. So I need to stay inside that limit. And so I did, and I found a decent powder of N150. So I was able to get a pretty good case fill, but at 100% burn rate. And it gets a decent velocity, that of 2801 with this 110 grain Nosler AccuBond. And I am using, again, a 24-inch barrel and 200 yards zero. So at 200 yards, you're getting 2377 feet per second, 1380 foot-pounds, 0 inches of drop. 300 yards, you got 2180 feet per second, 1161 foot-pounds, and 7.8 inches of drop. 400 yards, you got 1993 feet per second, 970 foot-pounds, 23 inches of drop. And at 500 yards, you got 1814 feet per second, 804 foot-pounds, and 46.7 inches of drop. So not a terrible trajectory, but I mean, it's not the greatest either. These weren't very large case capacities, so they didn't hold a whole lot of powder. Dropping down to the 25 Creedmoor, using, again, the same thing, 110 grain Nosler Accubond long range. Not long range, excuse me, Nosler Accubond. And by the way, the BC on that is 0.418. You get a muzzle velocity of 3021, and I forgot to write down the muzzle energy. And by the way, that velocity number is based upon what I found out of the reloading manuals. And it's using 42.4 grains of H380, staying inside that 65,000 PSI. At 200 yards, you're getting 2577 feet per second, 1622 foot-pounds, 0 inches of drop. 300 yards, 2370 feet per second, and 1372 foot-pounds, 6.4 inches of drop. 400 yards, you got 2174 feet per second, 1152 foot-pounds, and 19.2 inches of drop. And at 500 yards, you got 1986 feet per second and 964 foot-pounds and 39.2 inches of drop. The 25 Creedmoor, hands down between these two, is going to take the win. It's significantly flatter and faster. And the number I believe that I saw in the reloading manual was at 61,600. So it wasn't even really hitting the max pressure. So which leads me to believe that with the right powder load, it could easily get closer to 3,100 feet per second with that same 110 grain bullet. So still a good velocity, not slow by any means. Clearly considerably flatter shooting. You're talking about a difference of 7.5 inches of elevation change between these two at 500 yards. Now I get it doesn't seem like that's a whole lot, but the fact is, as a natural trajectory, without using turret style scopes for dialing MOA or your MILRADs, that's actually a big gap. If you're just talking about shooting and watching the differences, 7.5 inches is not exactly all that close. Is it the biggest gap in the world? No. But is it also, tight? You're talking about within an inch or two? No. So it's actually a pretty good sized gap. So the Creedmoor is definitely outperforming the 250 Savage. Here we go. This is a tried and true loved one for a long time. The 257 Roberts. Same thing, using that 110 grain Nosler Accubond. 39.8 grains of N150. You got max pressure of 51,488. So it's not, again, these are not high pressure cartridges. The 250 Savage and the 257 Roberts, not high pressure. And you getting 39.8 grains of N150 gives you a muzzle velocity of 2869. So it's actually quite a bit faster than your 250 Savage. Not as fast as the Creedmoor, but still not the slowest here on this page. 200 yards, you got 2439 feet per second, 1453 foot-pounds, 0 inches of drop. 300 yards, 2239 feet per second, 1224 foot-pounds, 7.4 inches of drop. 400 yards, you got 2048 feet per second and 1025 foot-pounds and 21.7 inches of drop. 500 yards, you got 1867 feet per second and 851 foot-pounds and 44.1 inches of drop. So of these three, definitely the 25 Creedmoor is taking the win. But that's about the extent that it's going to have. It's like there's only so much you can do with a limited powder size of reservoir. It's okay. It's a good cartridge, don't get me wrong. But it's more of a target cartridge than it is a hunting cartridge. And I'm about to show you why. These next three are hunting cartridges first and target cartridges second. And you're about to see the difference between the Creedmoor and those that have some real horsepower. 25-06, still not as powerful as a 25-06 AI, but that's okay. So 65,000 PSI, same max pressure as a 25 Creedmoor. Using 55.5 grains of N555. Talk about a coincidence in numbers. Muzzle velocity, 3207 with that same 110 grain bullet. So significantly faster. Muzzle energy, 2512. 200 yards, 2744 feet per second, 1839 foot-pounds, 0 inches of drop. 300 yards, 2530 feet per second, 1563 foot-pounds, 5.6 inches of drop. 400 yards, 2326 feet per second, 1321 foot-pounds, and 16.6 inches of drop. 500 yards, 2131 feet per second, and 1109 foot-pounds, 34.2 inches of drop. Your difference between the 25-06 and the 25 Creedmoor is 5 inches. So, yeah, that's not, again, as a natural trajectory, using the same bullets, same length of barrel, it's just, the Creedmoor is just going to not be able to do it, period. It's a good cartridge, it's just not that good. This one was part of the request, and these two were actually the request that started this whole thing, but here we're going to go, we're going to do this anyway. So the 25 WSSM, which is Winchester Super Short Magnum. Again, max pressure, 65,000 PSI, using 49.2 grains of the N555, gets you 3180. So you're talking a difference of 27 feet per second, and it's doing so with 6 grains less of powder. You're talking about, that's like right neck and neck, but it's just more efficient. So 3180 feet per second, 2471 foot-pounds. And I'm just going to go ahead and skip right down to 500 yards so that we can understand this. You got 2110 feet per second and 1087 foot-pounds and 34.8 inches drop. Your difference between these is literally 0.6 inches, a shade over half an inch. That's close. That's so close, I'm going to call that a tie. All right? You're not even talking an inch difference. Your deviation between these two is 27 feet per second. Out of the same length of barrel, throwing the same exact bullet. The 25 WSSM surprised me. I wasn't expecting this good. But shoot, what an incredible accomplishment for what it is. Little fat boy over here is doing the job and doing it well. So this brings us down to the newest kid on the block. And the king of this list. The 25 Weatherby RPM. Max pressure 65,000 PSI. And this is the one of the bullets that they had available. And so I listed the information that they had from Berger themselves. Okay? So don't come at me for it. Again, the information's on Berger's website. So And here's the thing, the Sammy spec cartridge, if you actually look at the Sammy specs, specifically lists this 133 grain burger, okay, at 3,000 feet per second. So I'm getting my information from Sammy. So, all right. So again, don't come for me. If you have an issue with it, take it up with them. I know there's some other guys that are doing some hand loads with this already, and they're finding that it goes faster. So if you're saying it can't, that's slow for it, that's fine. But this is just the information that I could find that was available to me, not some hand loader. Okay. So with a 133 grain burger, a BC of 0.613. So you're talking a difference of almost 0.2 in your BC. Almost a full 0.2. Significantly higher. 3,000 feet per second. I forgot to write down the muzzle energy. But at 200 yards, you got 2694 feet per second and 1772 foot-pounds and 0 inches of drop. 300 yards, you got 2548 feet per second and 1586 foot-pounds, 5.9 inches of drop. You're going to have 400 yards, you got 2407 feet per second, 1415 foot-pounds, 17.2 inches of drop. 500 yards, 2271 feet per second, 1259 foot-pounds, and 34.5 inches of drop. On this list, here's the reason why I say this one is going to be the king. Number one, this is a factory loading, which means it's going to be lower than its actual potential. And the same thing with the 25 Creedmoor. I know that. But this is based upon a 22-inch barrel, not a 24. And with the BC that's on this, look at this. At 500 yards, you're talking a difference of only 0.3. Now, I'll say this. For practicality and cost-wise, obviously a 25-06 is going to be a little easier to get. As far as rifle selection, there's more of them. There's a better ammunition selection. The 25 WSSM, really good cartridge also. I mean, shoot, look at this. Your spread between these two. At 500 yards, you got 34.2 inches, 34.8 inches, 34.5 inches. These things are right there. But as a long-range option, the 25 RPM is going to take this. As far as, actual just shooting. I saw some video where some guy was trying to say that the 25 Creedmoor and a 25 RPM are basically neck and neck, and that the 25 RPM is junk. I'm going to have to disagree with him because the powder capacity off the RPM is definitely better. The Creedmoor just... it's the same thing. Hornady does the same thing on a lot of theirs. A lot of companies do. They kind of pad numbers. Let me turn this back around. They're padding numbers, okay? And there's no way around that. But the thing is, when it comes to Hornady, they're notorious for really padding their numbers. It's always, this cartridge is better than everything else. And again, I'm not saying that they don't make good stuff, but it's like, come on. Peel it back a little. Be a little bit more honest. And the thing is, people would prefer that, obviously, and I know I prefer. I'd rather just be honest about it, and just be humble about it. That's what I'd rather see. And a pure performance aspect for hunting, the 25 RPM is definitely has all the advantages because it's throwing those heavier, higher BC bullets as compared to your 25-06 or even your 25-06 AI. You have to have the right lands and hardware below it, so like your magazine and your stock, to be able to support that ammo in terms of feeding out of a bolt action. If you're just doing a single shot bench rifle, then it doesn't really matter what length it is. You can hand feed it in, right? But when it comes to hunting practicality, in terms of just pure numbers, the 25 RPM is going to take it. In terms of practicality for cost and performance compared to overall cost and availability for rifles and ammunition, you're going to have a hard time to pass on the 25-06. There's numerous companies that still make the 25-06, not only in ammunition, but also in rifles. So, as far as the practical side of it, the king of this list is the 25-06. As far as pure numbers, I'm going to give it to the 25 RPM. I'd love to see some other options in the 25 RPM besides just a carbon wrapped barrel offering from Weatherby, because obviously we'd like to be able to afford it. So yeah, there's that. But in any case, let's leave off on that for a minute. Yeah, I am still working on some things as far as the website. That's gonna be that takes a little bit of time. We are getting there though. We are making progress by progress. The rifle is making progress by progress, but again, being patient, not rushing the process. But yeah, 2.5 weeks at the most, it'll be ready. So we're gonna do that, get that done, and yeah. But I need to get some other things done on it first before I really want to present it and everything else. But it is coming. I'm actually, what I'm probably gonna do is tomorrow I'll take a ride and just go see it, just to have you guys being able to see it unveiled. You're like, oh man, you've been promising to show us this, that, and the third. This is getting annoying. I'm unsubscribing. No, I'll go out, and this way you can actually see it. But it is at the gunsmith, so I'm not just tagging people along. Anyone who's ever had a rifle in the gunsmith knows sometimes it takes a little longer than expected, but that's okay. Other than that, that's all I have for you tonight. I appreciate all the support. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Just try not to sneeze over here, but I'm probably going to anyway. Excuse me. Check this thing out, because I forgot I had this. This is a 3D printed model of one of the case designs we worked on. Just decided not to go with it. It's a little big, but who knows? Maybe we eventually end up working on it. Make some massive overbore project. Shoulder mounted cannon, right? And but that's another project. Right now, I got my hands full with what I have. I need to get a new chronograph and a better rangefinder for longer target shooting. Mine doesn't like to go past 500. I like to have one that can at least allow me to go out to 1,000 pretty easy. So, yeah, I have other expenses I have to spend some money on first, including taxes and auto body repair, because you gotta love it when that's part of living in the countryside where you're filled with wildlife. Sometimes they get in front of your car when you're not wanting them to. So there you go. I again appreciate all the support, and we'll talk to you again.